Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Stevens. I'm presenting my peer evaluated project for course three of the AI product management specialization. This is my agenda, starting with task analysis. Again, what's the business problem? The problem is that we have these predictive analyses applications out there that have been trained. They're ML models with training data that includes privacy, personal information that has not undergone some type of privacy risk assessment or the module itself under an algorithmic impact assessment. Poses risk to the individuals. It also poses risk to the organizations that are using these applications to do predictive analyses to determine future legal outcomes. Can I win in front of this judge? Will how has my opposing attorneys perform in front of certain judges, different jurisdictions, what are the outcomes, litigation, and so they're trying to really establish winning strategies in the future. The users, attorneys and judges, attorneys preparing for trial, and judges that are making decisions on sentencing. And it's to ensure that again we have the fair equitable use of these capabilities when we're training these machine learning models that they're using. If they contain training sets that contain personal information, they have to undergo a rigorous review or assessment before they can be used to do these predictive analyses for future legal outcomes. These are my task analysis assignments. In a nutshell, it comes down to this. You have to do a privacy risk assessment or type of review of the training data before they're using these models that could adversely impact individuals in the future based on, the outcomes or outputs of these models. You have to mitigate the risk associated with using personal information. Again, I listed a number of tools that you can use. How do you acquire these data sets? Are you using your own data sets internally, or are you using or purchasing those from third parties, making sure that they meet the requirements for use, especially if they have personal information inside? The platform itself has a Gen AI component, and so we have a two-pronged decision process. If the training data undergoes a privacy risk assessment and it fails, then that can't be used to train the model to be used in the future for predicting future legal outcomes. If it does, then it can be used with the condition that you're going to continuously monitor those outputs for bias, data drift, content drift, hallucinations for Gen AI. This is my task analysis map. Again, the users are either attorneys or judges. They have to review the training data sets before they're used in the model. They have to make two decisions, as I talked about. One is either if the assessment determines that the model fails, that is using has been trained on personal information, you can't use it. If it does pass, then you can use it, but you must continuously monitor it because the goal is to make sure that the training data that contains personal information has undergone this rigorous review assessment before in the future it might cause privacy harms, privacy invasions. User experience design. Again, you have a landing page. Users provide information. It's a subscription-based process, and so they'll provide general information that allows them to sign up for a subscription. They use their user name and ID. They log in, and then there's a platform there, and that platform allows them to be able to query the raw data that's been used to train the model that's been prepared for use, wrangled, organized, and things along those lines. And when you get to um, that platform, it has the ability for users to provide feedback via the application to the organization and let them know again if there are questions about certainty, about accuracy. Transparency, up front, we tell them this is a supervised classification model. It also has a Gen AI component. They'll be interacting with a Gen AI component. We tell them where we got the data from. The sources are the public access, the court electronic records data repository is huge. It has information going back decades over court cases, judicial rulings, litigation outcomes, and things on those lines. And information undergoes a transformation, data preparation before it's used to train these models. We let them know that the training data sets might contain personal information, and for that reason, we've conducted privacy risk assessments, algorithmic impact assessments to ensure that we've mitigated any risk or harms to individuals. Communicate uncertainty. We tell them up front that, the outcomes that are presented or out from the by the model, are not 100% accurate. There's always going to be some variance between, what's accurate and what's expected. And so we're going to evaluate that information. We have human attorneys that evaluate the data, these outcomes themselves, to review those to make sure that they're accurate and within scope. And then we also provide them with a confidence level on once the output is provided or outcome is provided, to let them now know how accurate this information might be. Privacy considerations, there are always privacy considerations where you're collecting personal information for individuals, especially without giving notice and receiving their consent. And so, yeah, it's extremely important today's age. If you don't want a regulator knocking at your door because you improperly use personal information, you have to do these assessments of the training data. Identify that personal information, use privacy enhancing technologies to mitigate the impact. If it's feasible, get consent. If not, use these tools to mitigate the risk. There are a number of laws. I've got some here. There are a lot more. And it's all based jurisdictionally on where you're operating to where these laws are applicable. We can't forget the EU AI Act itself because this has quite strict requirements over the next 36 months, 24 months that require, deployers and developers of these AI systems to conduct risk assessments to identify whether it's prohibited, whether it's high risk, it's limited, or minimal risk. Ethical considerations. Again, I'm always concerned about reputational harm to individuals that might be uh, wrongly convicted or might receive longer sentences based on the output of these systems. And so we're looking at, identifying RIP bias. We've identified reputational bias and employment bias. From a fairness standpoint, we're focusing on group fairness, transparency. We're going to use an interpretive model. So again, it's not a black box model. Accountability, the users are responsible for ensuring the data is accurate before using the module. And they have to make sure that, again, they're compliant with applicable AI legal and regulatory data protection laws and regulations. Individuals that are adversely impacted by the input of these models always have a recourse if they can appeal decisions via their local or appellate courts. Thank you. My name is Chris Stevens. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.